Okay, picture this. It's Saturday afternoon. You've just spent the last hour meticulously dismantling your bathroom sink. You ran to the hardware store, grabbed the new washer, put the whole thing back together, and, with a pretty triumphant smirk, you turn the water mains back on. You wipe your hands, waiting for that satisfying silence of a job well done. But then you hear it. Drip, drip, drip. Oh man, it's just a visceral, universal frustration, right? You replaced the broken part, so why on earth is it still leaking? Well, in today's explainer, we're going to crack the case of the persistent drip.
So why is it still dripping? To understand what's going on here, we kind of need to reframe how we look at the problem. We really need to treat this continuing leak like an unsolved mystery. You see the old worn-out washer? Well, that was the obvious suspect, and you caught it. You took it out. But the crime, the leak itself, is still happening. Why? Well, because the actual objective of a faucet isn't just to hold a washer in place. It's to form a watertight, absolutely impenetrable seal. If water is still slipping past, it means that underlying seal just isn't forming correctly. Even a microscopic gap is enough for pressurized water to escape. So if the obvious suspect is behind bars, who's the real culprit? Well, we've lined up 4 primary suspects for you today.
Okay, let's dive right into this with suspect number 1, the imposter.
The imposter scenario happens when the replacement washer you so proudly installed just doesn't fit the profile. Think about the difference between a perfect fit, one that creates a beautifully tight, flush contact point matching your faucet valve perfectly, and an imperfect fit. A lot of folks assume washers are just basically interchangeable, one-size-fits-all parts. They absolutely aren't. If the new washer is literally a millimeter too thick, too thin, or just slightly the wrong shape for your specific valve, that contact point simply won't be tight enough. On top of that, some faucets require really specific materials, like a certain type of rubber, foam, or a specialized compound, depending entirely on the water conditions in your home. If you bring in an imposter washer, it just leaves gaps for the water to sneak right on through. So double-checking your washer size and material against the original is definitely your first line of defense.
Moving right along, we have suspect number 2, the slacker.
Now, in this scenario, you did everything right at the hardware store. You have the exact right part, the correct size, the correct material. But it's lacking on the job because it just didn't seat properly during reassembly. You know, a washer can look perfectly fine when you drop it in, but it can still sit completely unevenly. This usually happens during the actual tightening phase. The washer gets twisted, maybe pinched by the stem, or it just gets nudged slightly off-center right before the valve is fully put back together. When you go to tighten down that faucet handle, an off-center washer gets squished awkwardly, leaving this tiny, narrow gap on one side. And water is lazy. It will always find the path of least resistance. A pinched washer is basically rolling out the red carpet for it. This is exactly why avoiding over-tightening is so absolutely crucial. Cranking it down way too hard can actually deform a brand new washer on day 1.
Next up on our lineup is suspect number 3, the rough character.
This is actually an incredibly common issue that completely ruins a perfect hardworking washer's efforts. The washer is totally innocent here. It's the environment it's forced to work in that's the real problem. To understand this suspect, we need to define a crucial piece of anatomy, and that's the valve seat. Basically, the valve seat is the surface inside the faucet that the washer physically presses against to create that watertight seal. Think of it kind of like a glass jar and its metal lid. The washer is the lid, and the valve seat is the glass rim of the jar. Now, if the rim of that jar is chipped, cracked, or covered in dried, crusty food, well, it doesn't matter if you buy a brand new factory-fresh lid, that jar is going to leak. And the exact same principle applies right inside your faucet. So how exactly does that rim get ruined in the first place? Well, even a flawless washer will fail if the valve seat is damaged or coated in debris. Over years of use, water leaves behind mineral deposits, things like lime and scale. It can even cause corrosion. Over time, the metal seat can become pitted, which basically means tiny little divots are literally eaten right out of the metal. These buildups and craters create microscopic high and low spots. So when your nice flat washer presses down, it's pressing onto a bumpy, rocky road instead of a smooth surface. If you look down in the valve seat and see discoloration or roughness, you really have to thoroughly clean out those mineral deposits. And hey, if it's deeply pitted, you actually need a specific tool to grind it down and resurface it so it's perfectly smooth again.
And that brings us to our final suspect, number 4, the accomplice.
Sometimes the leak is actually an inside job committed by other hidden components, meaning you don't even have a washer leak at all. There are so many other places a faucet can fail. If the leak persists after a perfect washer replacement, you might be dealing with worn O-rings, failing cartridge or valve components, a loose packing nut area, or degraded faucet spout seals. For instance, in two-handle faucets, water can completely bypass the washer and escape right up through the stem. No way, right? The trick here is observation. You really have to be a detective and check exactly where the water's appearing. Is it dripping from the very tip of the spout? Is it pooling up around the handle when you turn it on? Or is it leaking out around the base where the faucet meets the sink? That location is your absolute biggest clue and tells you exactly which of these internal seals has actually given up the ghost.
All right, now that we know who we're looking for, let's open up the investigation toolkit.
It is officially time to empower you to act as the lead plumbing detective in your own home. Consider this your golden checklist. Let's walk through how to systematically narrow down the exact cause of your missing watertight seal. Step 1, confirm the leak point. Watch the faucet carefully. Is it the spout, the handle, or the base? Figuring this out points you toward the right family of parts. Step 2, reopen the faucet and check your work. Did you accidentally pinch the washer? Is it maybe a little off-center? Just take it out and reseat it perfectly flat. Step 3, while you've got it open, shine a flashlight down in there. Inspect and clean that valve seat. Get rid of the scale and debris so your washer actually has a smooth surface to press against. And finally, step 4, if all else looks perfect, check the other seals. Look at the O-rings and the stem packing for any signs of dry rot or wear and tear. By following this specific order, you're systematically eliminating variables one by one.
So the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that persistent leaks after a correct washer install almost always come down to a damaged seat or another worn seal. It is rarely a mystery without an answer. It's honestly just a matter of finding the specific point of failure. And what's super great is that once you use this framework to identify the true source of the leak, the next repair step is incredibly straightforward. Usually it just means cleaning a surface or swapping out that one specific O-ring you just didn't notice before.
We've lined up the suspects. We've handed you the detective's toolkit. The only question left is, which seal is hiding your leak? You can take these new diagnostic skills straight to your sink and systematically rule out the imposter, the slacker, the rough character, and the accomplice. But, it kind of makes you wonder, if a simple faucet is hiding this much mechanical drama, what other unsolved mysteries are lurking right behind the walls of your home? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and happy troubleshooting.